Hi, everybody. Welcome to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And this is another take slash test live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. If you're just now coming in, this is a bit of another test. So just now coming back, and I will be right back. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. Once again, I am back on this live stream and we are doing a couple of tests. And thank you guys so much for coming in. And I did just a little bit of a thanks to our sponsors as well as our patrons and our followers over on Periscope, which I usually try not to refer to them as followers on Periscope. And I want to give a shout out to the Lockhart Perspective. Thank you so much, Lockhart Perspective, if you're out there. And if you guys could take an opportunity to hit the like or the unlike button for the channelytics around here, I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well on your Thursday evening, or maybe even it's probably closer to a Friday morning for many of you. So thanks so much for taking the time to come in. So I'm just going to put a couple of links in the stream on this test. Thank you so much. So as I was saying earlier today, I'm going to be putting a few more things on actual Patreon and on Periscope. So if you're out there, I really appreciate it. And also take a look at the community tab. I have some other things to add to that community tab. Hello, AZ Infidel. And Old Head Deuce, you're here. Nice to see you both. You guys could tune in on this second time around. Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And if you haven't had an opportunity to feed the AI, if you could do that, that makes a huge difference around here. And Anarchy's here. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at least one thing on this short stream here. It's going to be a short stream. How are you guys out there? So we're just going to, this is a little bit on the, I hate to say a little bit on the fly here, but just want to look at a couple of stories here. Now, this is kind of old news, but maybe not so much old news. But it's no less, it's still news. Old Head Deuce is here. Thank you so much for hitting the button there. Hang on just a second. I'm just a little bit delayed, but all right, looks like we have Old Head Deuce, Anarchy Television, AZ Infidel. You guys are very patient. Thank you so much for coming in. All right. So what we're going to do is let's go with the let's talk a little bit about climate change here. Just a little bit. It's not the first time we've talked about climate change. And this one's a little bit beefy, but I think there's some good clips in there. Hi R Jones, how are you? Thank you so much for coming in. So this is kind of an 11th hour stream, of course. I said I was going to possibly do my stream for tomorrow. And AZ says he's just trolling the internet for more info. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming in, and Anarchy. Thank you guys. All right. So let's go ahead. We're going to go over to. We're going to go over. They said, yeah, the climate change today. It tried to rain. Okay. Right on. Okay. So what we're looking at here, we have something from our friends at the JBS. And this is, of course, Biden embraces the Paris Climate Agreement, putting Americans' prosperity at risk. So, and this was written by Dennis Barrett. And this comes from our friends at the JBS. And I think you guys kind of have an idea of, the economic compromise here. So really quickly here, we have on day one as president, as both promised and expected, Joe Biden issued a flurry of executive orders and actions. Among those actions was the president's agreement that the United States accept the terms of the Paris Climate Agreement. The full text of the statement from the White House reads that I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, having seen and considered the Paris Agreement done at Paris on December 12, 2015, do hereby accept the agreement and every article and clause thereof on behalf of the United States of America, done at Washington this 20th day of January 2021. All right, celebrated by environmentalists and socialists, Paris Agreement puts stringent international economic controls on the United States in the name of fighting man-made climate change. The result is unlikely to change the natural conditions of the environment, but it will likely contribute to economic malaise or worse for the citizens of the United States and for others. A key element of the agreement is the move to centrally planned economies. The UN, in its summary of how the agreement works, says, quote, implementation of the Paris Agreement requires economic and social transformation based on the best available science. The Paris Agreement works on a 5-year cycle of increasingly ambitious climate action carried out by countries. About 2020 countries submit their plans for climate action known as the Nationally Determined Contributions, the NDCs, end quote. The NDCs, meanwhile, are not optional. Quote, in their NDCs, countries communicate actions they will take to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions in order to reach the goals of the Paris Agreement, end quote. The UN says, quote, countries also communicate in the NDCs actions they will take to build resilience to adapt to the impact of rising temperatures, end quote. The UN is careful to note that the NDCs are mandatory. So I guess that's getting a little bit into the legalese and actually getting into, showing you that you're basically playing by the UN's rules, which I would imagine that's pretty unconstitutional. I would imagine that it is. I mean, I haven't torn it apart or even gone through this section of any of the EOs, but Usually, I think the TNA does a pretty good job scooping some of these elements out. And let me see, I have a few comments before I finish that. Because honestly, I'm going to be honest, probably around 2 years ago, I think around 2018, or maybe just a little bit later, we were supposed to, there was the migration compact that was supposed to be signed. So it seems like everything that didn't happen in at least the last 2 years, it's like they're massively making up for it. Let me read this comment here before I continue this one. And I see I got that one earlier. Thank And let's see. Hello, the Information Man Show. How are you? Okay, according to this, the official White House YouTube page put up a video in about an hour or so, and it has an audio edit of Hunter Biden saying he signed a plea agreement. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I haven't quite seen any of that. I'm sure if it comes out, I'm sure they'll throw a wet blanket on it and pretend like it, didn't happen. I mean, I just saw something in which, they're already violating their federal mask mandates. But, none of this is a surprise. It's just what's going to be done about any of this stuff my energy is. I can't really, who knows? We'll see. Okay, so You Stupid Foo says while clowns are talking about chucks and pearls, they are slowly making this country into a communist one. They're pretty, what can you? Yeah, I mean, we know, we can draw on history. We know what this looks like. Hey guys, you have your bug out bags at the ready in the not so distant future. And hi, Information Man Show. How are you? AZ says BRB. And we have Monkey Love Magic. Monty sent you guys over. Hi, Monkey Love Magic. How are you? Nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Information Man Show. Hope you're doing well. And let's see. It says Monty, yes, paralysis. Monty, yes. That I guess it's Monty style. Angela Reed, how are you? And Doran V. Did you see Mala and Joe so close? No, I did not. I I'm in and out today. Good to hear it, Information Man Show. And R. Jones says that someone help me understand how mandating, quote, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, end quote, does anything at all to improve our lives. Meanwhile, we are bombarded with life depleting weather weapons. And no worries, Monkey Love Magic. Sure, I'll get over to your page for sure. And nice to see you. Hi, Teresa. How are you? Thank you guys so much for coming in. And please, if you could visit that like button for us on this 11th hour stream. And we're just looking at a little bit on climate change and what's going on, what's what's in the wash right now. So I'll take you back to that. We'll finish this one up because it's a little dense, but yeah, I'm not sure how much fluff. We'll get to the bun and lettuce, and then we'll let it go. All right. So note the reference to a 5-year cycle. Such plans are typical of socialist central planning regimes, originating in the first 5-year plan created by communist dictator Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. Such a plan is the quote master plan under which an economy is centrally managed in order to achieve goals set by government. It is a collective plan that subordinates individual goals and well-being to those goals set by bureaucrats and dictators. By contrast, in a market economy, supply and demand for goods and services is set by the multitude of individual players in the market pursuing their own goals and interests, and the price of those goods and services is derived from market based transactions. Price signals from the market are instrumental in helping suppliers of goods and services understand how to invest resources in order to optimize production. This is the key economic feature of the market economy that results in the growth of prosperity across an entire economy. In a planned economy, by contrast, production of goods and services is determined from the top without access to economic calculation made possibly by market activity. As a result, resources are improperly used. Some items are built to large measures of oversupply, and others are inadequately supplied, resulting in shortages. The total end result of a planned economy is one of scarcity, uncertainty, discomfort, and eventually collapse. Okay, according to this, to put a finer point on these results of economic planning, recall that many millions of people have starved to death as a direct result of shortages artificially created by inherently faulty economic plans. Article 4, now we're getting in some legalese here. Article 4 of the Paris Agreement explicitly calls for a carbon based version of economic planning. Quote, each party shall communicate a nationally determined contribute contribution every 5 years in accordance with the decision 1 CP21 and any relevant decision of the conference of the parties serving as the meeting of the parties to this agreement and be informed by the outcomes of global stock take referred to in the article 14 in quote reads the article 9 of the agreement. In order to accomplish this, the individual governments will be forced to legislate restrictions on economic activity, essentially usurping more power to determine how economic resources are used within a nation. This will run downhill to the average citizen. For example, the goal is to limit carbon emissions, and that will mean limiting combustion based on fossil fuels. Now, think of all the things that run on fossil fuels. Government planning and legislation based on such planning will take away or make onerous the individual's ability to use fossil fuel powered combustion devices. Yikes. Oh my gosh, how long have I been muted? This is not going well at the 11th hour. All right, so let me figure out where I stopped on that. So generally this is a planned this Paris Accord reminds me quite a bit of some of the other um thanks so much. It reminds me of the transfer of power that we've seen in even some of the other trade agreements. 1 minute. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. He says, for the record, we have been misled. Petroleum fuel is not made from fossils. Just saying, R. Jones. Thank you, R. Jones. So I'm gonna go back to that just a little bit because it seems like I was going on and on and on. I'm not sure where you guys were, where where I left off in the situation. Hello, Old School Wolf Media. Nice to see you. And old head Deuce, thank you so much. And the Lockhart perspectives here. All right, so it was, I mean, there was a lot of verbiage in there, but it just seems like we're going to get shafted, okay, or hosed, because we're going to be we're in step with this agreement, and it's like it could possibly choke off what it looks like. It could end up choking off supply and demand because you are beholden to this agreement. And I want to pick a sweet spot, but this was actually getting pretty good, I think. So let me just pick a place here. I'll try not to make it too painful here. So, all right, I'm going to start here. Note the reference to a 5-year cycle. Such plans are typical of socialist central planning regimes originating in the first 5-year plan created by a communist dictator, Joseph Stalin, in the Soviet Union. Such a plan is the, quote, master plan, end quote, under which an economy is centrally managed in order to achieve goals set by government. It is a collective plan that subordinates individual goals and well-being to those goals set by bureaucrats and dictators. Okay, so to me, that's where where I'm getting a similar point to another trade deal. But anyway, by contrast, in a market economy, supply and demand for goods and services is set by the multitude of individual players in the market pursuing their own goals and interest, and the price of those goods and services is derived from market-based transactions. Price signals from the market are instrumental in helping suppliers of goods and services understand how to invest resources in order to optimize production. This is the key economic feature of the market economy that results in growth of prosperity across an entire economy. Here we go. In a planned economy, by contrast, the production of goods and services is determined from the top without access to economic calculation made possibly by market activity. As a result, resources are improperly used. Some items are built to large measures of oversupply, and others are inadequately supplied, resulting in shortages. The total end result of a planned economy is one of scarcity, uncertainty, discomfort, and eventually collapse. To put a finer point on the results of economic planning, recall that many millions of people have starved to death as a direct result of shortages artificially created by inherently faulty economic plans. Here we go. Article 4 of the Paris Agreement explicitly calls for a carbon-based version of economic planning. Quote, each party shall communicate a nationally determined contribution every 5 years in accordance with Decision 1 CP21 and relevant decisions of conference of the parties serving as the meeting of the parties to this agreement, and be informed by the outcomes and the global stocktake referred to in Article 14, end quote, reads Article 9 of the agreement. In order to accomplish this, individual governments will be forced to legislate restrictions on economic activity, essentially usurping more power to determine how economic resources are used within a nation. This will run downhill to the average citizen. For example, the goal is to limit carbon emissions, and that will mean limiting combustion based on fossil fuels. Now, think of all the things that run on fossil fuels. Government planning and legislation based on such planning will take away and make onerous the individual's ability to use fossil fuel powered combustion devices. Ultimately, for example, you may want or need to drive a car powered by an internal combustion engine, but because of the new need to comply with the Paris Accord, you may no longer be able to afford or to purchase fuel or even to purchase a car. In fact, such cars may completely disappear. Your individual menu of possible options for transportation will be circumscribed by economic planners beholden to the UN Climate Agreement. Your individual, okay, I already got that. Sorry, I'm losing my place here. But this will not affect the developing world, as the provisions of the agreement are designed to punish developed nations, e.g., the United States, first. So I think you can kind of get, I'm going to put this link in the stream if you guys want this for your, for your leisure. Just, not too much, nothing too crazy. Is it Ronnie Man here? No, it's not. Well, not exactly Ronnie Man. It's actually I'm talking about the climate, the Paris Accord, or yeah, getting into the weeds a little bit. And About Time says it's bad, like bad. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back a little bit on these and read some comments because this is a little bit wordy. And Anarchy Television. Let me go back a little bit here. And Teresa. Oh, magnificent. How are you? Thanks so much for coming in. Thanks so much, Mike Magnificent. And Old Head Deuce says, well worded. And Anarchy says, it's hard to get coal from forge for my forge down here in the South. And thanks so much for coming in. About Time live stream. You changed your name again. Switching it up on us. And Ronnie Man, you just not so much. I was trying not that there's a lot more where that came from, but I'm just thinking, just kind of getting into the good part of it. Let's see. And Ronnie Man says California already has legislation in place to do away with gasoline powered vehicles by, I want to say, 2024. I think it's 2030. You know, that's what the wicked King Newsom says. We'll see who's left standing. We'll see who's still around by that time. And About Time says his first days are just to undo all Trump's accomplished by executive order. I can see that. Yes, very much. And Teresa says, doesn't surprise me. And yes, at the Lockhart perspective. So yes, so that's a planned economy. Yeah, does that sound, how's that sound to you guys? Does it sound like a winner? So I'm gonna get in there just a little bit more, but then I'm not gonna be in that too long because it's a little dense. But like I said, I'm going to do some EOs, but at least you'll get a little bit of. I haven't looked at the actual Paris Accord. I bet that's a monster. I don't know how many pages that document is. Probably 2,000 plus. That seems to be the number they go for. Like they go for 2,500 pages every single time. And then what is it Pelosi saying? You got to read the bill to find out what's in it. That's kind of her philosophy on that, right? And I'm just trying to remember where I was. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out kind of sort of where I left off. I don't think there's a ton left in here, except probably some other extractions from other, maybe even other articles. But the U.S., because of the U.S. is a developed nation, so of course you're going to take the biggest hit, no matter what. We won't be able to. See, this is the thing. The bureaucrats. I'm going to go back to the top of this, and this is where I was talking about earlier. That's why I was talking about the USMCA. When you end up having a bunch of bureaucrats deciding, or these committees, people that are not elected, or they're not elected by the people, by we the people, to serve in Congress to make these decisions, or they're not appointed by the people. So that's the power. We don't have control. We won't have control of what it sounds like to me is that we're not going to have control of our economy anymore. We're not going to be able to adjust, to make the adjustments as needed, because it's going to be a planned situation. And guess who's planning it? Probably, somebody amongst this, some bureaucrats amongst this little coalition or whatever, the UN. But of course, guess who's also going to pay the biggest share, up or down? So it does talk about it's a collective plan that subordinates individual goals and well-being to the goals set by bureaucrats and dictators. And that's also a transfer of power. When the power is not in our, it's not even in our Congress's hands, and it's not in somebody in a group or a committee that they've appointed. So it keeps going further and further away, more and more remote. It's not by the people. So this is not, as they say, this is not for us. Look who's here. It's DJ Vision Barnett. It's been a lifetime. Nice to see you. And DJ says he's leaving work now. We'll see, DJ. I mean, this was kind of an 11th hour. Just stay tuned, or just put us on in the background. And Ronnie Man says, of course, 2030, like the Hunger Games agenda. And About Time says, sounds like a video game, LOL. All right. Yeah, DJ, drive safe. So we'll be here. We'll leave the light on for you. Now that I'm sorry, I'm probably killing you guys with these. I'm killing you guys with the what year was that commercial? Okay, so Anarchy says, I don't recognize their self-proclaimed authority or their self-proclaimed jurisdiction. That neither do I, but that's what we're on tap for. And Anarchy says the UN is irrelevant and obsolete. I think they have been for a long time. I thought we would have gotten out of that. Like, not just like, just get us out. Just get us out. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going here. All right, so you have that, and I'm gonna finish this one out here. I might as well go a little bit further. I'm almost done here. So hang on. According to the agreement, quote, the developed country parties should continue taking the lead by undertaking economy-wide absolute emission reduction targets. Developing country parties should continue enhancing their mitigation efforts and are encouraged to move over time towards economy-wide emission reduction or limitation targets in light of different national circumstances, end quote. Ooh, we're going to allow some circumstances. Meanwhile, developed nations will, quote, help, end quote, the developing nations. See? Quote, support shall be provided to developing country parties for the implementation of this article in accordance with Articles 9, 10, and 11, recognizing that enhanced support for developing country parties will allow for higher ambitions in their actions, end quote. Article 10 explains further, quote, developed country parties shall provide financial resources to assist developing country parties with respect to both mitigation and adaptation and continuation of their existing obligations under the convention, end quote. This sounds really bad. Under these terms, U.S. taxpayers will likely end up sending billions of dollars to developing countries such as India and China. In its NDC document, for example, India states that, quote, at least USD $2.5 trillion at 2014-15 prices will be required for meeting India's climate change actions between now and 2030. Wow, this is almost like enslavement or something. Even if the United States doesn't fund the developing nations, the agreement still gives those developing nations the edge, as developed countries will have to clamp down on economic activity and developing countries won't. Ballotopedia, in its, quote, fact check China, India, and the Paris Climate Agreement, in quote, notes of China that one of its goals to achieve by 2030 is, quote, to reach peak CO2 emissions, end quote, of both India and China. Former EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who is also the former Attorney General of Oklahoma, told Fox News that under the Paris Climate Agreement, quote, India didn't have to take any steps in the agreement to reduce carbon emissions until they received $2.5 trillion in aid, end quote. Continuing, Pruitt said, quote, China didn't have to take any steps until the year 2030, end quote. Following the Biden administration's embrace of the Paris Agreement, Senator Ted Cruz warned that it would lead to economic hardship for Americans. Quote, by rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, President Biden indicates he's more interested in the views of the citizens of Paris than in the jobs of the citizens of Pittsburgh, end quote, Senator Cruz said on Twitter. Quote, this agreement will do little to affect the climate and will harm the livelihoods of Americans. Well, you got that right. So, all right, so we have one more section and we're done. All right. So Biden's signatures does not mean that the climate agreement has the force of law. For that, it will need Senate ratification. Immediately following Biden's actions accepting the Paris Agreement, Senator Steve Daines, a Republican of Montana, submitted a resolution calling for the administration to submit the measure to the Senate as required by the Constitution. According to Reuters, quote, the resolution was backed by 5 other Republicans, John Barrasso, Jerry Moran, Roger Marshall, Cynthia Lummis, and Mike Crapo, end quote. Article 2, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution provides that the president has the power, quote, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided two-thirds of the senators present concur, end quote. Commenting on Biden action, Senator Daines warned of the damage it would cause. Quote, rejoining this agreement places our country at a competitive disadvantage and will lead to higher energy prices for Montana families and job loss in a time when rural economies are devastated, all for minimal benefit. At the very least, I urge President Biden to do what the Obama administration refused to do and submit the Paris Agreement to the Senate for consideration as required under the Constitution. Okay, so we'll see how likely that is to happen. All right, guys. So yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, but that sounds like global enslavement, right? I mean, just saying. And I'm going backwards here. Running the country under the swamp. And R. Jones is another wealth transfer scheme that is yet again paid for by your children's sweat. We were all going to step up and call out. When are we all going to step up and call out the BS? I hear you. And Philip J. Turner, thanks so much for coming in. He says, that old goat's done signed 25 executive orders. He's a spendthrift lunatic. And Anarchy says, we must stop funding our own slavery. And About Time live stream just angers me. Anyone that voted Biden. LOL. And Anarchy says, so the U.S. is the world's police and we're its slaves. Yes, it's a subsidizing. We're going to pay for everybody. Is what we're back in. Is the American agenda last agenda. And the Lockhart perspective says he didn't think any of this stuff up. Pelosi and Clinton. So yeah, that's kind of the bulk of it. So yeah, what I did put that link in the stream for you guys, but I think they pretty much got to the meat of it because, like I said, I don't know how many pages that actual agreement is, the actual Paris Agreement. I'm not sure how many pages that's worth, but at least I think we kind of got into, I think, the big picture of it. So I'm going to place it one more time. See, I don't have any charts or graphs for you. I don't have any economic charts or graphs for you guys. You got to go over to somebody that knows how to teach that. Somebody that actually can teach. There's people that can actually teach that without graphs and pie charts and things, but I'm not that person. And Old School Wolf says Pelosi, Clinton, Biden, all of them are puppets. Yes, they are. They were all beaming the other day. Yuck. All right, guys. So yeah, just a little bit of entertainment. I'm going to run a couple of What is it? Okay, I'm going to be, if I could be old school for a second and say, okay, we got to pay the bills. I'll be right back. All right. So I thank you guys, as always, for coming in. So I'm just going to kind of go through the chat because I'm probably going to wrap this up probably like the next 5 minutes or so. I just wanted to share this because like tomorrow I will not be going into, I don't think I'm going to go into this whole Paris Accord. Like I said, I haven't even seen a PDF of it. But I don't know. They're just going to keep, taking advantage of us where available. So, but Old Head Deuce, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. And if you guys haven't had a chance to hit that like button, or I say feed the AI around here, if you could do that, if you haven't done it, you will have an opportunity to do it. And or either you could hit the unlike button, or if you want to throw caution to the wind, you can share the stream. You can do that. Make sure you're still subscribed, and you can share it out. Do I say if you're brave, share it, share it out? I usually say throw caution to the wind, but it's almost like, okay, I dare you to share out the stream. So AZ, thank you so much for coming in, supporting the channel. Anarchy Television, thank you so much for coming in. And R Jones, thank you so much for coming in. You Stupid Foo, thank you for coming in. And Information Man Show, haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you. And Monkey Love Magic from Monty, thanks so much for coming over. I appreciate it. And I'll check you guys out for sure. And Paralysis, thank you so much for coming in, supporting the channel. Angela Reed, thank you so much. And Doran V, I haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. And let's see, R. Jones. So Teresa, thank you so much for coming in. And of course, the Lockhart Perspective, thank you so much for coming in and for all that you do around here. And Old Schools, nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. And Mike Nificent, I don't know. I know that name. I think it's you got a popular name, or I don't know why I recognize this name, but thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. And About Time, of course. It's been a lifetime, but thank you for coming in. Okay, Ronnie Mann, of course. Thank you so much for being a gold stripe around here. I really appreciate it. And DJ Vision Barnett, I hope you're having a safe drive. And I think that kind of gets everybody in. All right, guys. So I'm probably gonna run another ad, and I don't know. So in the event that the ship goes down or I'm incapacitated, then come on over and go over to the community tab and check out the censorship info. All right. There you go. So maybe that woke you up if you were like nodding off or something. All right, guys. I really appreciate it. And I got a comment from Philip J. Turner. Thanks so much, Philip. I didn't realize you were still around. He says the Saudis won't let Iran start a new conflict. ITD ruin things for a large area. R. Jones says the definition of anarchy. I have about decided that anyone stuck in that right left thing at this point can probably not be helped. R. Jones always being real. Oh my gosh, it's the definition of anarchy. I didn't see you there. You snuck in there. You said I'm getting my late night stream in. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I was just I was supposed to do a stream earlier, but I don't know. I couldn't quite get it together, so it turned into a test, I guess. But yes, thank you so much for coming in and supporting the channel. And Bell Time live stream says I was left right. Haha. You guys are got jokes. Good ones, but jokes. All right, guys. I am going to run one more commercial, and then I'm going to pack it in and say so long. All right. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, there's something for everyone. So please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And just a quick recap. Let's just do a quick recap here for those that are just coming in. Well, what we talked about just generally, we kind of we went into this article from the JBS on the Paris Accord and what that actually means for our economy. And it sounds pretty much sounds like an enslavement, a global enslavement, and a bit of a choke. And basically, we won't be running it. We won't be, and we'll also be, I guess, responsible for those who aren't quite making the cut. Actually, let me put that link in the stream also. So I think they broke it down pretty. They pretty much gutted out. Gave you the meat. They extracted the meat and got rid of the rest. So they tell you which articles in which that are of interest, to the country is in terms of whether it's supply, demand, or what we're going to be on the hook for, what the taxpayers are going to be paying. We're going to end up paying for the developing countries that aren't making the cut. It looks like it's a 5-year. I'm not sure how long this thing lasts, but I guess it starts at 5 years. I'm not sure, but I haven't seen that entire document. I think it's a foreign entanglement is what it is. And it's very unconstitutional, to say the least, that we've got that kind of transfer of power. It's also going to affect the jobs. I think what's available here, um, all to achieve this CO2 emissions, and that's going to affect, like, I think all of our transportation, and probably even it's going to add more regulations. I think even to it's going to add more regulation. So, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hi, DJ. How are you? And the definition says more of our tax dollars and jobs going bye bye. That's it in a nutshell. I couldn't have done it better myself. Let's see. And Ronnie Mann says global imperialism. This is all going to be done by some convention or some. It's not going to be done by our Congress, as rogue as I think they are. It's not even going to be done by them. It's not going to be done by a committee, even by their committees, but some people far away. Or so, yeah. But to that point, it's where I talked about before. It's the same kind of thing that they're going to achieve with the USMCA. I'm like, my gosh, did anybody read this thing? I mean, it was full of social protections. It was full of, I mean, that's another situation in which a committee is going to make the decisions as to how many people can come into this country to work. There's LGBTQ social protections in there, just all kinds of things that are not, those standards are not even going to be set by our Congress or either any of their committees. It's going to be done by some appointed committee somewhere else, not by we the people. So this is not, we're just losing. We're losing. I mean, what can I say? So I put that article out there for you guys. So it just seems like it's just, I don't know, it's not exactly set up for the best, not set up for success, because we're a developed nation, we're supposed to subsidize and be the piggy bank for everybody, and even suppress our own economy and our own supplies. And R. Jones says, but what morons to think they can keep taking more and more from us if they kill us. And Paralysis says, regulating cow farts is priority. Yeah, CFR. We know Biden's a big, I don't know. It's like I don't know, that guy, he has his own reputation with the CFR. We have there's a total, most of this country is either, we have lots of corporations that are members of the CFR. We have individuals that are members of the CFR. We have news media and anchormen and anchor women that are members of the CFR. So it just seems like this has been like the plan all along. And by 2030, gosh, I mean, can you imagine 2030? And Anarchy Television says we need the population of the masters of the universe. The party of Davos. Let's see. And Definition of Anarchy says Obama makes it to where UN troops can occupy our country. Now this. Yeah. There's a ton of bad deals that were done that most people don't know about. So we'll see. Let's see. I'm going to go into Ronnie Mann says corporate law is under the umbrella of admiralty law. Thank you for that, Ronnie Mann. And R. Jones says anybody knows if you have good hired help, you take care of them and show appreciation and cherish them. All right. So yes. So to the definition of anarchy's point, yes. And there was that's the thing. It's like we've had. It's like to go far enough to get us out of these foreign entanglements, and just it's just. I mean, who knew? Who knew? Who knew? You know, what can I say? All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you for coming in. Thank you so much, the definition, for coming in. And some of you guys I haven't seen in a lifetime that have managed to come in here. It's always nice to see you. For example, I'm not sure I single some of these people out. I will say, I guess I could start with About Time live stream. And then, of course, Old School Wolf, if you're still around here. And I think that's about it. Oh, I didn't see Jermaine G. I didn't know that you came in here. And I didn't see Friends in Code. I didn't see you. So you guys are slick. You come in here, you just, you guys drive by with the window down, and then you eventually pop in, and I have no idea. All right. So just a couple more comments, and I promise I'm getting out of here. This was not supposed to be this. I was not supposed to do this tonight. And R. Jones, okay, I'm off here. Okay, R. Jones says, anybody knows if you, okay, we got that one. Sorry. Anarchy Television says, hey, Snapzilla, just remember to aim 1 inch below the rim of that blue helmet. Let's see. And R. Jones, but instead we are battered and abused and worked to death and then fired. Geez. Okay. Well, I don't know how to pick you guys up. I mean, yesterday was pretty dark and it's still pretty heavy. So I guess you guys have to do it. You have to find your own way but I thank you guys so much for tuning in and for coming on. And we are going to call this a done live stream. And thanks so much again for everybody that hit the like or the unlike button, or even dared to share this thing out. It really helps. So friends in code, thank you so much for sharing out the stream. I'm sorry, I almost missed that. Thank you for sharing out the stream. And Ronnie Man says, make sure to do a drive-by on that like button on the way out. And R. Jones says, today is better, I think. And the definition of anarchy says, to anarchy television in a fiction novel, of course. Ha 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 ha. Okay, guys. Well, I really appreciate it. And I will be happy to see you guys on the next live stream in the comment section, in a video, or another live stream. Like normally, I will tell you honestly, I normally call these Moonlight streams, but today I didn't get to it. So I thank you so much for coming in. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night.